MJ, thank you so much for being on with us. We appreciate the time. We want to dive into you taking over as the new host of NFL Network's NFL Total Access. Congratulations on the new gig. What an awesome step for someone in the sports industry, and especially a female in the sports industry. What type of honor is it taking over a show like this?
Thanks, Maddie. I mean, beyond an honor. We've started full force in studio, and every day I'm like, wow, this is really happening. Like, we're really here, we're really doing this. It's our flagship nightly show, 5 days a week. So it's really a huge platform to be able to come through and just reach out to all of our viewers and all of our football fans, especially in a year like this. I mean, the name of the show, right? Total Access. I think when so many, pretty much all the fans across the league are restricted this year in terms of how close they can get to their team. Most of them can't go to a game this year. So it's really on us to bring that to them every day. And it's something I take very seriously.
What's something different that you want to bring to the show? What type of flair is MJ bringing to NFL Total Access?
I mean, subtlety was never my strong suit. I'll just say that much. It's like kind of come in full, fast and furious, kind of crazy, and I want to bring that to the screen as well and everything that we do. I think it's going to be a much more personality-driven show. Not just myself, but our analysts, our reporters who are out in the field. I mean, I came from that role previously with the NFL Network, so I know they have so many good nuggets and so much more insight to bring as well. And then just our interviews with the players, we'll definitely be handing them the mic more this year, especially when it comes to social justice efforts and letting them use their platform to really amplify the voices of these marginalized and abused communities.
Yeah, NFL Total Access, you can catch it weeknights at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. You're the first Afro-Latina to host a show on NFL Network. Being an Afro-Latina hosting a show like this, you just spoke on amplifying the voices of the players. How does that amplify the voices of people in the Black and Latino community, you being on a stage and a platform like this?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I'm the first woman of color across the board to host a show on the network. So that in and of itself is a huge stepping stone and a huge milestone, both personally and for the NFL Network as well. I think it's a reflection of our audience, a reflection of the people who are watching the show, and especially within the Latino community, which is the fastest growing demographic in the United States and not slowing down anytime soon. So it's great to be able to represent those voices and those viewpoints on a national stage every day.
You're also a female kicking butt in a male-dominated industry, so I appreciate you being on a channel like NFL Network as a female. What's your advice to females in the sports industry and beyond?
I mean, and right back at you, Maddie. I mean, not that long ago when I started this career, 10 years ago, maybe it was that long ago, I couldn't have pictured, the two of us sitting here having this football conversation or just talking about what the landscape looks like. It's definitely changing slowly but surely. And I'm always so encouraged because I get so many messages from young journalists, young women who want to break into the field. And I think now the digital platforms that we have allow for that connection, for that networking opportunity that, I didn't have when I started out. I couldn't, tweet somebody or DM them on Instagram and ask, to pick their brain. So I try to reach out to as many as I can, and just that's exactly the right thing to do, is pick everyone's brain, bug people as much as you can, and make sure that you're getting as much insight as you can, because knowledge is power. And especially with young women in this field, like, we have to lift each other up. We're stronger together, that's for sure. The more of us there are, the better it is.
I completely agree with that. How have you seen the landscape change in sports and seen women over the years, maybe not necessarily take over, but there are so many more than there were 5 years ago. I mean, you hosting a show like NFL Total Access on NFL Network, there's more female coaches now. There's more female scouts now. Kim Pagula is the owner of the Buffalo Bills and the president of the team. I mean, you look back 10 years and we couldn't say this. So how have you personally seen that landscape change and grow for women in the sports industry?
I think you hit the nail right on the head. It starts with women who are doing things outside of just the visual mediums, right? In front offices, behind the scenes. I mean, Kim Pagula was part of a panel that I did during the NFL Combine that was all women within the sport. Sam Rappaport, who works in our league office, is one of the top executives there, and she does an incredible job with diversity and inclusion and bringing more women's voices to the forefront. When you talk about coaches, and when you have Katie Sowers with the 49ers and Coach Lowe and Coach MJ with the Bucks, of course, Jennifer King over at the Washington football team. I mean, slowly but surely, the landscape is shifting a bit. But listen, women are out here and they are kicking butt.
So Sunday, it's week 2 that kicks off. The Bills are headed to Miami to take on the Dolphins, and I know you have ties to the Miami Dolphins, so want to bring this game up. The Dolphins lost in week 1 to the Patriots, 21-11. So what stands out about this Dolphins team that's different this season?
Well, I think one of the big things I noticed is in their rushing attack, right? They brought in Matt Breida from the San Francisco 49ers, and I've followed him for so many years, covered him closely. I think he's going to be able to bring a different dynamic to their ground work, but also defensively. I mean, when you have Byron Jones at cornerback, he presents such an interesting matchup. So like in this game, him against Stephon Diggs, I'm sure everybody's like, okay, let's see.
Premier.
Let's see how many targets we get here. I mean, it's one of those like really, and then it's a divisional game, so it's always heightened. It's always a little bit extra spicy when it comes to the intensity of the game, especially this early on in the season. I think this season too, it's just different for teams because there's so much uncertainty, so much is different. So while we're like, don't panic early on in the season, it's great that the Bills started already with a W, whereas the Dolphins really can't go 0-2, but we shall see how that will work out this week.
Yeah, truly so much uncertainty with this season. The Bills get to see fans for the first time in the stands in week 2 because the Dolphins can have fans in their stands. And whoever thought that media members would be asking coaches and players like, are you guys ready for fans in the stands? Like this is something that hasn't happened before. So truly just a different season overall. And you talked about the Bills having a week 1 win. They put up 27 points. They averaged below 20 points a game last year. So we're definitely seeing a new look of them on offense. From what you've seen on the Bills, from watching games or just looking up stats, their roster, what sticks out to you about that team and that roster this season?
Well, a couple of things. One, the addition of Stephon Diggs. Major. That was huge. I think that caught everybody off guard during this offseason. Like, whoa, they nabbed a huge one. Having a deep field threat like him, somebody who can turn on the jets and is just such a versatile wide receiver is fantastic. I think that Josh Allen has really made such incremental leaps as a quarterback over the last few seasons. And we saw what he did last year. I'm really excited to see him continue to progress and really settle in to his role as a QB, as a starter, and really just as a leader there. But the defense is really where I think people don't give enough credit to. I mean, they have the 3rd total defense in the league right now, 2nd against the run. This is a defense that can really present challenges. So I'm excited to see that too.
Yeah, they allowed just 52 rushing yards last week, so hopefully they can keep that up for facing a multifaceted run attack with all the running backs that the Dolphins now have. Let's talk week 1 as a whole. What do you think was the biggest underrated storyline or player or team to come out of the first week of the 2020 season?
Okay, I'm not going to say he was underrated because anytime Ben Roethlisberger is on the field, it's a big headline. But I have to point out this crazy stat, and my husband's going to kill me because he's a Giants fan. But Ben Roethlisberger outrushed Saquon Barkley in that week 1 matchup. He had more rushing yards than Saquads, as I call him. I don't think that's a storyline that many people talked about, but to me, that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, Ben Roethlisberger not only shattered some stat lines, but people who have him on fantasy teams, that was the talk of Monday for how many points he put up in fantasy leagues. What about a team that shattered expectations in the first week to kick off the 2020 season?
I think it was the Cardinals. I don't think anyone expected them to go up against a divisional opponent and then beat them in San Francisco, the San Francisco 49ers, a team who was just at the Super Bowl a few months ago and who many people are looking to as the team to beat this season, aside from the Chiefs, of course. And they did that. They went in there, they confused them, they rattled them up, they rattled up that defense that was so dominant last year. And a lot of people didn't see it coming. Of course, now they have DeAndre Hopkins there and a very shifty quarterback in Kyler Murray, but I think people were still sort of counting them down and out in this. So look out for the Cardinals, man.
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins was fed the ball time after time after time this past week. NFL Total Access, the new show, out of all the analysts that you have on every single day, who are some of your favorite personalities on that show?
Man. The guys keep me on my it's hard to pick just what. I mean, I'll just go off of last night's show because they had such an incredible players only segment. And I love that because I can just look back and just enjoy them sort of going at it. James Jones, Willie McGinnis, and Maurice Jones-Drew, those three together, I mean, I'm so glad I don't lead that conversation because it's impossible to keep them in line. So the players only segment is perfect when you got sort of that amalgamation of those guys. Michael Robinson is fantastic. David Carr could not be a more delightful human being. Sean O'Hara. I mean, we are really just blessed with such an incredible lineup of analysts across the board. So many more. I mean, we'll be here all day if I have to go through all the guys.
MJ Acosta-Ruiz, the new host of NFL Total Access. Check it out weeknights at 5 o'clock. MJ, thank you so much for the time. So pumped for you again. Congrats.
Thank you, Maddy. Appreciate you.